We thought the storm had passed. The forest was quiet, too quiet for midnight. No crickets, no frogs, not even wind in the trees. Only the occasional crackle from our campfire. I remember saying, "If we hear coyotes, I'm going back to the truck." My friend laughed. I felt comfortable taking care of myself in the woods, but I didn't want to be a coyote dinner either. Then the fire hissed and wind blew out. We felt no breeze, no rain, just darkness. We reached for our flashlights in the dark, but not much help. The beams felt thin, swallowed by the night. The trees seemed closer as we walked around. Then a breeze swept through and left a stench behind. My friend whispered, "Do you smell that?" It was like decaying flesh and crap that smelled disgusting. We both froze when a forced whispering voice in the dark called out, "You won't make it." We both jumped, then looked around to see where that came from. The voice was creepy, that's for sure. It didn't sound like a human. It was loud, encompassing, and sounded hollow. My friend spun around with his flashlight, but the light caught nothing except fog. When we returned to camp, my tent was rising, then the other. We watched them levitate a foot off the ground. We tied them down. It didn't hold. Thinking wind must have caught them, we ran over to bring them down, but they wouldn't budge. Then we saw it. There was something inside the tents, pressing against the sides, causing the fabric to bulge. Then we heard a slight groan. We didn't say a word. We both just turned and took off running as fast as we could, till our flashlights died, till dawn peeked through the treetops. When we finally went back for our gear, the tents were still there, collapsed on the ground. We looked inside and saw our sleeping bags untouched. All our gear was there. By a tent, words were written in dirt. "You won't make it. Home." Then we heard a loud, hollow, echoing growl.
I drove nights for extra money. DoorDash, Uber Eats, whoever pinged first. The money's best after 10 p.m., when people who don't want to be seen want hot food. One Thursday, a storm smudged the city into a watercolor. Streetlights with halos, streets slick and empty. My third order popped up with a high tip and instructions that made my stomach tilt. Leave at door, don't knock, text when you're in the elevator. The building was one of those half-renovated tower blocks, new mailboxes grafted onto old marble. The lobby camera was a dark circle with a blue LED that blinked like it was listening. I balanced the bag on my forearm, hit the elevator, which groaned, and texted, "In the elevator." The reply came fast. "Good. Keep the camera on yourself." I hadn't said I had the app open. I hadn't said there was a camera. Floor 11 smelled like wet carpet and someone else's dinner. The door for 11C had a peephole the size of a coin and 3 deadbolts installed at different times. I put the food down, snapped the pic, and turned to leave. The bag rustled behind me. I looked back. The top had folded open as if exhaling. A second delivery bag, not mine, sat beside it now, plain white, no logo, fin string handles wet from the rain. I hadn't seen it in the elevator. I hadn't seen it anywhere. My phone vibrated. "Take the white bag to 3A, same building." I typed back, "Not my order." The reply arrived before my bubble finished sending. "Tip increases, it belongs to 3A." I should have left it. I should have taken the stairs and gone home. Instead, I carried a bag that wasn't mine to a floor I didn't eat. Floor 3's lights flickered in a rhythm that felt intentional. Door 3A had a scuff at ankle height like someone had kicked it from inside too many times. I put the food down, snapped the pic, and turned to leave. The bag rustled behind me. I looked back, the top had folded open as if exhaling. A second delivery bag, not mine, sat beside it now. Plain white, no logo, fin string handles wet from the rain. I hadn't seen it in the elevator. I hadn't seen it anywhere. My phone vibrated. "Take the white bag to 3A, same building." I typed back, "Not my order." The reply arrived before my bubble finished sending. "Tip increases. It belongs to 3A." I should have left it. I should have taken the stairs and gone home. Instead, I carried a bag that wasn't mine to a floor I didn't need. Floor 3's lights flickered in a rhythm that felt intentional. Door 3A had a scuff at ankle height, like someone had kicked it from inside too many times. I set the bag down, took the picture, and turned it back. The door opened 2 inches, without a chain, without a voice. Cold air breathed out. I bent to slide the bag forward. From the black behind the gap, a hand took the handles, pale, dry, a paper cut across the knuckle, and lifted the bag away soundlessly. The door closed without the sound of a latch. I texted support to cancel my next order because my hands were shaking. I rode down to the lobby. The blue LED on the camera blinked slower now, like it was drowsing. I knew ping hit. Same customer, different address, 5 blocks away. The note said, "Leave at lobby desk. Text when you are outside." I declined. It reappeared with a higher tip. I declined again. It assigned itself to me, which has never happened. I drove, angry in that way you get when you're scared and don't want to admit it. The second address was a storage facility with an all-night key code gate. The keypad had a handprint on the metal, dark from oil. I pulled a U-turn to leave. My phone rang with a number that looked like my own, except for the last digit. I let it go to voicemail. A text followed. A photo of the back of my car in the rain, taken from behind. No other cars were on the street. The text read, "Gates open when you pull up." The gate yawned like a mouth when my bumper came near. Inside, motion lights woke in a domino line down the corridor. Unit C17 had a red sticker. Payment due. Its roll door had a kink like it had been lifted and dropped. The notes on the order updated in real time as I watched. Digits marching. C17, leave inside, close door halfway, text me the sound. "That's not how this works," I said out loud to nobody. My voice bounced off the concrete like a cheap ball. I set the bag on the concrete and backed away. The roll door shivered and rose 6 inches by itself, like a breath taken before a word. The phone buzzed a final time. "We're hungry." We? I kicked the bag under the gap out of anger more than anything like bravery. The smells inside the unit unrolled, not food. Wet cardboard, old dust, cold coins. The bag slid out of sight, then flattened. Not like something took the food out, like air refused to leave room for the bag to be full. The lights at the end of the hall clicked off one by one, coming towards me. I grabbed my phone and ran. The gate stayed open for me like a good host. I didn't stop until my car's heater was breathing heat into my wet shirt and the storage facility was a rectangle in my rearview mirror. I sent every screenshot to support. They replied with a template that might as well have said, "Shrug." I changed my delivery zone after that. A week later, a new article crawled through my feed about an arrest at that storage place. Units broken into, stolen packages, bait orders sent to drivers to test their routes. The article said the ring had watched deliveries for months. The article said they operated out of C17. The article said there were 3, and police found 2. Nothing in the article mentioned the white bag that wasn't mine. Nothing mentioned the way the gate moved for a car not yet close enough. Nothing mentioned the sound my phone never sent of a storage door closing halfway. I still drive sometimes. If you do, don't take mystery bags. Don't follow instructions that sound like the customer can see you when you haven't told them they can. And if a note ever says, "Text when you're in the elevator," remember, a camera can look out from your phone as easily as it looks in. And some people don't order food because they're hungry. They order people.
When I moved into the high-rise, the doorman told me, "Power blips here all the time. Don't worry." The building had been retrofitted. Old bones, new skin. I worked from home on the 15th floor, the studio with a view of roofs like closed books. The hallway camera feed ran on a monitor by the mailboxes. You could see yourself leave and come back in a lagged loop that made you look like a memory. The outage came on a windless night. everything clicked off with a sound you only notice when it's gone. The hum of the fridge, the air handler breath. The emergency lights woke in red bars along the floor, and the elevator screen in the hall showed 5, no matter which button you pressed. Our group chat lit up with "power out" and one message that said, "Stop knocking, not funny." I hadn't knocked on anyone's door. I typed "not me" and put my ear to my own door because sometimes the building plays jokes. Pipes that sound like footsteps, wind through the mail slots. A knock came, polite, 3 taps at my door. I looked through the peephole. The hall was lit like a submarine. No one stood there. The camera by the mailboxes showed a delayed version of the same hallway, empty, except for a shape at the far end where the angle warps. My phone buzzed. A text from a number 2 digits off mine. "Elevator stuck on 5B. Please help." There is no 5B. Floors are numbers. Units are letters after the floor number. The doorman texted the group. "Stay in units, don't open doors. Maintenance en route." The 3-tap knock came again, closer together, as if whoever was doing it didn't understand waiting. I messaged Sasha, my neighbor across the hall. She typed, "They're knocking here too." Then it said my name. The power in the hallway camera surged. The feed rolled, then corrected, and for one frame the hall was full. Figures facing doors, all with their backs to the camera, all too tall, heads tilted like listening. A flashlight blinked under my door, back and forth. Not a narrow beam, a broad wash like someone lay on the carpet, shining at the threshold to see feet. I spoke through the wood, voice even. Security said stay inside. The light was stilling. The 3 knocks played like punctuation. The building chat dinged. "Whoever's saying my name, stop." Then it's using my mother's voice. The elevator dinged, though the screen still showed 5. The power was out. It shouldn't have moved. My people showed a slice of the elevator lobby at the hall's end. The doors opened to dark. After beat, the emergency light inside the car came on. It didn't show a person. It showed handprints on the back wall, 5 fingers spread too wide, high, low, some smearing down as if someone had tried to climb up a vertical plane. The doorman's voice came over the old building intercom, echoing down steel and plaster. "Stay put. Fire department is working the breaker." His voice cracked on working like he had been running. The 3 taps came again, and then a 4th, out of rhythm, like a child trying to match a pattern they didn't quite get. Sasha texted, "It just tried my handle." I put my eye to the peephole and watched my handle waver as if breath moved the air around it. "Say my name," a voice told me from the hallway in a tone like static through cotton. I didn't. The elevator dinged again, and the doors started to close. Something stopped them with the softest it wasn't hand or foot, a pressure like a wind that chooses a place to be. The doors reopened, the 5 on the screen rolled to 15 and back to 5 in a loop like a clock stuck between 2 seconds. Power came back at 1:12 a.m. The red bars along the floor sighed out to regular white light. The hall camera stabilized and showed empty space, plain carpet, my door. The group chat filled with relief and jokes as a way to make the heart slow down. I opened my door crack to check on Sasha. On my doormat lay a key card. Old style, brass inlay, embossed with the building's original name from a century ago. On the back, stamped letters 5B. The super shrugged when I brought it down. He said, "We don't have B tiers." He flipped it over like it might become an A. He took it, then brought it back a day later. He said, "It's not registering in the system, like it's a souvenir. You should throw it out." I didn't. I taped it inside my cupboard behind the spices, the way you keep newspaper clippings you don't want to explain. 2 weeks later, the fire alarms pulled us all into the hall at 3 a.m. Steam from someone's shower, the super said. We stood in bare feet and coats, eyes refusing to meet. The elevator opened onto 5 and stayed there, doors half apart like a mouth ready to speak. For 1 second, the screen showed 5B. No one else said they saw it. I did. Never looked comfortable, like something had found his name after wearing the wrong one for too long. If you live in a building that's older than its paint, listen when the doorman says don't open the door during an outage. If a voice asks you to say your name, keep it to yourself. And if your elevator ever shows a floor that doesn't exist, remember, the building remembers everything. Even the parts it tore out, and sometimes those parts remember you back. My second job was a midnight clerk at a roadside motel, 2 hours outside the city. U-shaped building, 13 doors, flickering vacancy sign that looked like a heartbeat. Truckers took the back row, families got the rooms near the ice machine. We never booked room 12 after midnight. An old local rule the owner didn't write down. She'd just say, "It confuses people," and change the subject. At 12:07 a.m. on a Tuesday, the register popped a reservation by itself. Walk-in, room 12, cash. The bell over the lobby door didn't ring. The camera showed an empty driveway, rain points like silver nails. I canceled the entry. The cursor reappeared on its own and typed "paid" in the notes field. I stared until the cursor blinked like a wink and vanished. I walked to the keys, as we do every hour, shine the light along the doors, and listen. Room 12's peephole had fog around the glass on the inside. That doesn't happen unless someone's breathing on it. I knocked once, called out "front desk." The sound inside the room changed. Not a voice, not a step, pressure. I slid my master into the lock and felt heat, like a palm on the other side of the door. I pulled back. The vacancy sign buzzed and snapped dark for 1 second, then came back too bright. At 12:14 a.m., a man in a ball cap came in soaked, carting water onto the mat. He asked for room 8 specifically. I took his ID. He looked used to being awake. He asked, "You still don't book 12 after midnight?" I said I wasn't supposed to. He said "good" and signed without reading. People tell the truth when they're tired. He added, "Last time I stayed here, someone knocked from inside the walls." At 2:03 a.m., the phone at the front desk rang from room 12. We don't send calls to rooms that aren't checked in. The board showed the line live for 13 seconds. I lifted the receiver to silence that had texture, like wind trapped in drywall. When I hung up, the parking lot camera showed a figure standing at the far edge by the soaked shrubs. A tall man, shoulders sloped, hat brim low. The timestamp stuttered for 2 frames and jumped backward, as if the camera didn't want to own the moment. The rain stopped, as if a switch had flipped. Motel weather is weird. The interstate makes its own climate. I took the master and a fresh towel like an excuse and walked back around. Room 12's curtain moved against the glass, a slow push and release. Breathing. I knocked with the towel between my knuckles. "Front desk, you called?" The curtain stilled. The chain rattled on the other side, but only once, like a person choosing not to open after deciding to. I slid the towel under the door out of habit. The towel pulled back inside with a careful strength I will never forget. The door stayed closed. Back in the lobby, the register spit a receipt. Room 12, cash, $49, balance 000, signature blank. The thermal paper felt warm. I opened the cash drawer. The exact amount lay on top of the 5s, damp like river money. I called the owner. She answered on the first ring like she'd been waiting. She said, "Don't refund it. If it pays, let it stay." At 3:13, a state trooper pulled in lights off. He came in for coffee and to run plates, like they do when the highway gives them nothing but time. I told him, softly, the odd stuff. The self-check-in, the towel, the money. His eyes did a thing men do when they want to protect you without admitting anything is wrong. He said, "We've had calls. Room 12's on the report twice, welfare checks with no guest. You want me to walk it?" I said yes before my pride could answer. We went together. His hand touched the butt of his flashlight the way people touch talismans. The hallway outside room 12 smelled like a wet basement in summer, sweet and copper, not like any other motel smell I've cataloged. He knocked. "State police." The peephole darkened, then cleared, as if someone put their eye to it and leaned away. He slid the master in and pushed. The chain held from the inside. He pushed more and the screws creaked, old wood complaining. He called again, "Police!" The chain moved on its own toward the bracket like a hand feeding it through. The door opened 2 inches, dark. The trooper's flashlight beam bent to the threshold and thinned like mist eats light. He shut it gently. "I'm going to pretend they'd told us to come back later," he said. He wrote something down I couldn't see and told me to call if anyone screamed. He drove away with wipers working a windshield that didn't need them. At 4 o'clock, truckers began to roll in for coffee and a bathroom. The lobby felt normal with other lungs sharing it. I printed the night audit at 5:30. The ledger showed room 12 stayed one night, checkout 6 a.m. I went back at 6. The towel lay folded on the sill inside the window, visible through the gap in the curtain. The door was unlocked. I opened it into a room colder than outside. The bed was made military tight. The mirror over the dresser had a handprint high on the glass, 5 fingers too long, dry. The register slip sat on the desk, signed in a loop that meant nothing, like a road on a map that goes nowhere. We don't book room 12 after midnight anymore. If the book's itself, we leave it. The owner says a man died there in 1998 trying to make it to a wedding 2 exits down. She never wrote it down and the papers don't mention it, but truckers remember things roads forget. Now, when guests ask for 8 or 9 or 10, I oblige. When they ask for 12, I say we're full and mean it. If a receipt prints without hand to sign it and cash arrives that smells like somewhere else, I keep my eyes on the lobby bell and wait for morning. If you ever work nights at a motel, learn the rooms like neighbors. Some of them stay long after they check out. If a guest pays cash you didn't take, don't go looking for a thank you. And if a towel slides under a door and doesn't come back with dust, understand whoever is inside knows you now. Be polite. Let them sleep.
On a Tuesday in February, the wind had a bite. I was mopping the aisle by the coolers when the security monitor flickered, every camera frame jumping like a scratched DVD. It was 3:17 a.m. I remember because the register's receipt printer chirped and spit a blank slip, something it only does when we reboot after thunderstorms. The sky was perfectly clear. The monitor froze on the door camera. The glass looked fogged from the outside, as if someone were breathing against it. I went to the front to check the door, expecting frost or condensation. But the door was dry. I wiped my sleeve across it to be sure, and saw my own face reflected back. Tired eyes, baseball cap, mop line on my pant leg. And a big-ass shadow behind me. I freaked and locked the deadbolt in a panic, then turned around. There was nothing there. I felt stupid for being so scared. Maybe it was my imagination, but I didn't think so. Creeped out, I went back to cleaning. When I returned into the aisle, the chime sounded, the one that pings when the door opens. I thought maybe the owner had remote unlocked it by mistake, but the deadbolt was still turned. The monitor unfroze long enough to show a shape moving across camera 2, the one that points at the coffee island. I saw a shoulder, a sleeve, something pale passing. Then the frame tore into static. I stepped around the end cap. Hello? My voice felt small. The coffee island was empty. The cup towers stood like stacked white teeth, untouched. The chime played again. I looked up at the door, still locked. The air felt colder than it should have with all the heaters running. The mop handle rattled against my palm. I pulled my phone to call the owner. No bars. We always had at least one bar here, even in storms. I tried anyway and got the automated emergency alert tone you only hear in tests. It squealed in my ear and cut off by itself. On the floor by the dairy cooler, I noticed drops, not water, dark red drops drying at the edges. I followed them, 3, then 5, then a smudge like someone dragged a thumb across the tile. They led toward the employee door that opens to the stockroom. My keycard worked, but I hesitated at the handle. The drops ended at the seam of the door. Nothing seeped underneath. The monitor above the register flashed back on. Every camera, parking lot, coffee island, chip aisle, restroom hall, showed me standing at the stockroom door, and behind me, A second figure, taller, head turned away from the lens, like it knew where the camera was. A sleeve the color of a filthy rag, a gray hand slack at the end of it. My heart sprinted without me. I didn't turn around. I watched myself on the monitor, watched the taller thing behind me lean into me, as if smelling my head. The feed turned to static again, and the door handle went cold under my palm, metal that felt like ice from a chest freezer. I shoved through into the stockroom and slammed it shut. Boxes, the smell of cardboard, a humming soda fridge, the normalness of it anchored me. I braced the handle with a broom and backed to the loading bay. From the front of the store, the chime pinged twice. Door open, door closed. I thought maybe it had left. Then the bay light over my head went out with a soft pop, and in the faint glow of the exit sign, I saw someone had written on the inside of the roll-up door. Not paint. Grease from a mechanic's hands, maybe. 6 letters scrawled at a child's height. I'm back. I did what you should never do on a night with spooky crap. I raised the door. A breath of pungent night air hit me. Diesel, garbage, cold, and the smell of pine from the windbreak. Empty lot. No cars. No tracks on the concrete. I listened. Somewhere beyond the highway, a dog barked once and shut up quick. I eased the door down. When it reached my knee, 3 withered fingers pressed against the outside. A thin, gray, translucent hand with dirt-packed nails reached inside to grab my leg. The door sprang from my hands and rattled back up a foot before I could grab it. The fingers slipped away. I slammed it shut, dropped the latch, and it backed into the dark. The chime sounded again, infinitely far and far too close. I counted seconds. 30 passed, then 60, and my phone finally found a bar. I called the owner first, then the county sheriff. The owner told me to stay put. The sheriff took 7 minutes to arrive. When their spotlights swept through the front windows, all the monitors came back at once like nothing had happened. The deputies found nothing. No prints, no red drops, no forced entry, no footprints by the loading bay. They did find the grease word "back" and photographed it. By morning, it had vanished, like the door had sweated it off. The drops by the cooler turned out to be a deep red motor oil that we sell, but every bottle was sealed. A week later, the owner scrubbed the footage onto a thumb drive to show the cop who was investigating what happened at the station. In the copy, you can see me mopping, looking up, walking to the door. You can see the frames stop. You can see me freeze at the stockroom door. But the second figure never appears. The reflection of me on the glass door looks wrong in 2 frames, though. The eyes a little higher than they should be, the mouth a little too close to the glass, and no sign of that big shadow thing behind me. I still drive Route 27 sometimes. The station's lights burn like they always have. A forever dawn that keeps nobody safe. Every time the clock in my car clicks to 3:17 a.m., the radio hisses and the emergency alert tone comes softly through the static, even when the stereo is off. I try to forget the fact that I know I'm still not alone. I don't stop for gas there anymore. I count the miles until I see another town, another light, another human face that actually looks human. If you ever work a night shift at a lonely place, get to know your cameras. When they freeze, don't stare at the screen. Don't look around to see if anyone or anything is behind you. Just sprint to lock the doors, go to the light, and do not allow it to enter in. no matter how inviting it makes the chime pings. Don't let it back in, 'cause it's coming back.
The first night was uneventful. I walked the dog, watered the monstera, and fell asleep on the couch with the TV on low. At 2:41 a.m., my phone buzzed. Ring notification. Motion at front door. I tapped. The live view showed the porch, doormat, dark street. No person, no car. Something moved at the frame edge, like a moth crossing a headlight. Then the feed jumped back 5 seconds on its own. When it caught up, the square of welcome mat light was slightly darker, as if someone had stepped there and left a shadow. I chalked it up to compression weirdness, muted the phone, and went back to sleep. 10 minutes later, motion at garage. The side camera. The garage door was closed, the driveway empty. The light on the garage motion sensor didn't come on, but the ring's little blue LED pulsed as if it saw breathing. The dog's ears twitched, then he whined at the ceiling. I heard it, a light tread across attic plywood. Heel to toe, right above the downstairs hallway. 5 steps, then the soft thud of something set down on wood. The dog looked at me like I'd know what to do. I didn't. I woke to the house alarm, home, checked all deadbolts, and stood under the attic hatch staring like it might fall. The family had left a stepladder in the garage, but I didn't fetch it. Instead, I did what cowards do. I turned on every downstairs light, sat on the bottom stair, and listened until 3:30. The attic said nothing more. The second night, the doorbell rang at 1:13 a.m. 3 short chimes, the setting for weekday delivery. The Ring app showed no one, but the activity history marked 3 separate events: 1:13:07, 1:13:11, 1:13:14. I scrolled back to daytime. A mail carrier had scanned a package at 11:10. He turned to go, then turned back, head cocked, listening to something I couldn't hear. He looked past the camera into the dark house. The timestamp stalled for 2 seconds like it skipped a beat. At 2:02 a.m., the attic sounds again. Not pacing, more like wandering. From above the guest room, down the hall, above the living room. Pause over the couch where I had been sleeping, then away. I pulled the couch against the wall, looked up, and said out loud, "I hear you!" The dog hid behind my knees. Night 3, I called the dad. He laughed the way people laugh when they don't want to be rude. Old house noises, I promise. That ring catches moths like they're robbers. He told me the ladder was in the garage, to check the hatch if it would make me feel better. He hung on. As my hands were shaking, I thought, "Check the hatch! Are you kidding me?" But I knew I had to suck it up and just do it. I put the call on speaker for the trip to the garage like his voice could ward off whatever was up those steps. The ladder was not where I'd seen it the night before. Back in the hallway, the hatch string was swaying. Back and forth. The attic isn't insulated well, and the string always hangs still from its own stiffness, unless something touches it. I stared until my eyes watered from fear. The ring pinged again. Front door. I rushed to see. A person stood on the porch, not on the mat, over it. The lens curved them, but I could make out a black hood and a length of pale face like paste. Their feet didn't show. They didn't breathe fog in the October air. They leaned toward the bell. The camera jumped 5 seconds back, then played again. Now the porch was empty. The dog growled, low and long at the stairs. Steps above us answered, heel to toe, scrape, heel to toe, scrape. I could hear a faint, deep moaning sound. The thing stopped, closer to the hatch than before. I dialed 911. The operator stayed calm. I chose the word intruder because ghost gets you a wellness check. She told me to get outside. I grabbed the dog, ran to the front door, and stopped. On the doormat, pressed into the coir, were 2 heel prints and a single dragging toe between them, facing into the house, as if someone had stumbled through the door without opening it. I thought, yeah, right. That's not creepy. I was totally creeped out, but trying to keep it together. The patrol car rolled up in under 3 minutes. The officers were kind. They checked the attic with their flashlights. Empty. Dust patterned with little nail pops and footprints from an electrician years back. They swept the yard. No ladder in the garage. No marks on the grass. No one under the deck. One officer asked if I'd had any odd calls. The house line had rung twice that day. Caller ID unavailable, with voicemails of nothing but air that had texture, like one of those ocean shells you hold to your ear. The other cop asked if I had been drinking. I thought, if I had, then maybe I wouldn't be so scared out of my mind. They left. I calmed down enough to fall asleep with the TV on full bright, like a kid. The morning felt normal. Coffee in hand, sunlight on the tile, until I opened the binder the mom had left me to check the vet's number. A picture slid out. 3 kids on the porch at Halloween years ago. 2 were the families, recognizable through time. The third stood a step back, hood up, face washed out by flash. The caption on the white border, in the mom's handwriting, "The neighbor's boy, moved away after..." The sentence ended in a line of ink that trailed off like she'd been interrupted. When the family came back, I told the mom everything. Her mouth went tight, then gentle. There used to be a boy next door. He wandered, came over every night through the summer, even after we told him to stop. We'd find little footprints on the mat. His parents moved when he started high school and showed clear signs of a mental issue. They sold the house to flippers. Months later, we heard the boy died in an accident. She touched the picture and put it back in the binder. We hear him sometimes. We don't answer the bell or check the house. We've learned to ignore. Before leaving for home, I wanted to check the ring history. At 1:13 a.m. of each night I'd been there, the bell had registered 3 chimes, even on the night my phone never rang. And one more entry I hadn't noticed. 2:41 a.m. Answered at door. There's a clip attached. It shows the open door, my hand in the frame, my sleeve with the Monstera water stain. I never opened the door. I don't even have the key for the screen lock. If you house sit on a quiet street, don't trust the doorbell. If a thing wants in badly enough, they won't wait for you to answer. They'll use supernatural crap you didn't even know could happen. A ring at the door, with no one there. A ladder to the attic. A dragging foot. A deep moan. A crappy camera that poops out on you when you need it most. Never assume a house won't be infested with creepy crap you can't explain. Never.